Speaker, you know, it is really unfair, if I may put it that way, that a House Chair or Speaker or Deputy Speaker easily identify a question which is not in line with an initial question. And they are very quick to point it out that, but the question is not the same as the initial question. However, they become deaf when the answer is not in line with the question. And that is our plea here. Let's not be played. The House Chair's Speaker and the Deputy Speaker can hear the answer. That is not an answer. It's now a response which is a mediocre, which does not address the matter at hand. It must be stopped. The similar way you can hear that the follow-up is not in line with what was asked. It must be the same rule that applies to a minister which does not answer. It becomes worse when a minister ventures into insults and undermining the members of the House. A minister is from the executive. Their job is to come here and account. But instead of accounting, they are allowed to undermine us. They are allowed to give us mediocre responses. And we as members must protest. And when we protest, we are sent out of the House. Then which platform must we utilize in order for us to represent the constituencies that we're here for?
This is the
yes.
Was slightly earlier attempted to raise a point of order, but I think I can raise this and seek clarity from you as the speaker. My understanding is that this committee is an extension of the House, and that the way that we address matters are subject to those rules. Now, I don't think it's a task of this committee to go into the details of what happened yesterday, the limitations of the hybrid platform and so on. I'm sure we've got rules committees and so on. But the issue that I want to raise is that when members in this House, for instance, refer to a minister by his first name, in the House here, in this meeting, they say Gayton. The question I'm trying to ask is that if this is an extension of the House, you know, should we really be, you know, addressing members by their first names? I'm not a huge person for protocols, but there are rules in regard to how we address people in this meeting. So the order point that I'm actually raising is that if the rules of the House apply to this as a meeting, as an extension of Parliament, is it correct, Chair, that members can refer to others by their first names, and it is an issue that is ignored or not, or is it's not an issue? Because my order point is that we should not do that, and I'd like to ask you to rule on that matter if we need to be formal. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Dlamini.
No, thank you, Speaker. We thought this matter, we raised it on the issue of how we handle each other, especially in the House. And Speaker, this is going to sit with you and your team, because what the member is saying, he's just talking on the issues that happened on the House yesterday, but is not dealing with this matter in detail, that there was a response of someone who decided to insult and undermine members of Parliament. And we don't have another cheek to give. Because if you're going to behave in a manner that is not exemplary and that has got no respect of other people, you can't expect to get that response back. And to us, to avoid even engaging with the other members and the executive, we want the firmness to come from your office and your team, Speaker, because it's only you who can get us into line. I can't be told by another member of another political party. We are all the same members, even the executive. And once it collapses from your table, then it's going to be a problem. So we're going to really, we are just started this term, and we're going to plead with you to sit with your team to say, once you've taken that seat where you are sitting now, It doesn't matter which political party or part of a coalition you come from. You have to treat us fairly, and you have to stick to the rules. And even the issue of people saying, no, the ministers, they can respond, and there's no determination of how the answer should be. But when someone you can see that has got no interest of respecting even the people that have asked that question, you should be able to rein on them. Because people, if that is the case, all of us, we can pretend as if we're doing the work, but we're continuing to insult. So we really plead with your office, not other members. Those, we don't care about them. We're going to do our work, but when it comes to your office, because once it collapses there, that's why you're going to find ourselves taking over from the duties of the speaker or the chair by responding to each other. One of the issues that get raised when it collapses in that table, it's when we don't speak through the chair. When we start directing to each other, then it collapses. So we're really going to plead. Yesterday, the chair was presiding. He failed to protect the members. He was biased, even on issues that we're saying, you are human, you might have taken a ruling and then you realize that along the way, this was a mistake from your side. You got to have that confidence and be able to say, look, I think this ruling was wrong, member, because as you are sitting there, it doesn't mean you are bigger than all of us. You are presiding over this house with the powers that were given by the same house. So once you find yourself that you've made a mistake, you've got to be courageous enough to say, I think that my ruling was incorrect. The members that have removed from this hybrid, the online system, can they be brought back? Because the matter that we're dealing with yesterday, even the minister said, but it's not an issue for me because it's a fact of what the members are stating. So why is it an issue? And then the chairperson should have said, look, now that the member, and I've got better clarity of this, and sometimes even the language, because when we try to explain to him that, no, the word banditi, this is what it means, and even the member himself says, no, I don't have a problem with that because it's a fact. But the speaker, because the chair, because it's my way, even when he can see that everyone is saying, but you can see the facts are in front of you that you've made a mistake, because he has taken that his own way of presiding, it's my way or the highway. He will never even have the decency of saying, look like I've made an error here, and which is human. We'll all make errors and say, let me withdraw. That's why when you preside over us and say, what you said is wrong, please withdraw. And then we realize that, no, actually it's out of the rules. We do withdraw. So you can do the same thing. It's just how we should treat each other. Then we're going to have the necessary decorum in the house and be able to deal with this member. Because I can tell you now, if they're going to continue to insult us and undermine us, those things of honorable and mistake, they become absolutely meaningless. So we don't want to do that. And we're relying only on that table so that we don't end up guiding each other on the floor here. Thank you.
Honorable members, thank you very much on the issues that you have raised. I wouldn't want that we proceed with that matter on debate because correctly so, Chief Whip of the EFF, you have written a letter to the speaker on the matter, and I wouldn't want us to continue debating it here, so that we give it a considered view and I write formally to you. But what is equally important, and I think it's for all of us as members in the House, it's really to try and respect the decorum of the House and our rules. I know that sometimes when debates are heated, we kind of forget that. But it's important to always remember that no matter how tough sometimes it can be, but let's try and respect the very rules that we have set for ourselves, as well as the decorum of the House that we would want to have. Yesterday, the matters that you raised, maybe even before them, Honorable Reddy raised an issue about speaking through the chair, but just before he raised it, he has done exactly the opposite. And I cautioned him to say, while you are correct, but you have just done the opposite of what you are saying. And he laughed and said, I was doing it for the camera. So I do think at times that, all of us owe it to each other to make sure that the house is run in a manner that we would all like it to be. And I do take the issues that have been raised to heart, also on how ourselves as presiding officers, the views that members are having on how sometimes we manage matters. We would look at that and make sure that we contribute to the better functioning of the house. But I do also want to say equally, as members and our members who may not be here, it's important for you as the leadership, because as the chief whips and leaders of the party, you also play an important role to assist that the house function in a manner that would like. So there are certain issues that we have pointed out, as I've said, that some of those that relate to the executive, we will address them accordingly with the leader of government business. But we must all try and ensure that our people whom we represent here, when they also listen to what we say and how we conduct ourselves, must not feel embarrassed. And I think we must always remember that these constituencies that we represent are also watching and looking at us, because we are, whether we may not see ourselves like that, we are their role models. They look at us, they look up at us as the leaders that they trust, that will represent their concerns and their views in this house. So I take note of these issues. We would look at them, and I'm sure also within our rules committee, we would also have to look at how we strengthen our very rules so that they enable us to achieve the issues that we are concerned about, which might be lacking in terms of how currently our instruments present themselves.